Hey ladies, welcome back to my channel. It's your host London Lamborghini, and today I am back at it again with another video. So get your notebooks out, sit back, relax, and let's get into this video. Today's video is going to be all about people's payday routines. I was first introduced to the concept of a payday routine on TikTok when I saw people posting videos like this. And a payday routine is basically an entire session that people go through once they receive their paycheck on payday to manage and organize their finances. So it's basically like a laundry day for your bank account. You have to sort through the clothes, fold the clothes, put them away, and then get ready to do it all again next week. In that aspect, a payday routine is strikingly similar in that you take time out for an entire session to organize your finances and put everything in its place. Because it's one thing to have a budget, but that budget is completely useless if you don't maintain and sustain the function of that budget every time you receive money into your bank account. So without further ado, let's get into this video.
It's payday, girlies and guysies. Let's budget my paycheck as a 26-year-old making $79,000 a year as a financial analyst. I had $1,050 left over in checking. I had a side hustle paycheck for $100, and my full-time paycheck was $2,265, bringing my total to $3,415. At each paycheck, I set aside about half of my rent, so $575. I'm paying $1,050 towards my credit card. I'm moving $325 to my emergency fund that's in a high-yield savings account. I've started to monetize on TikTok, so I'm setting aside $130 for taxes. I'm moving $75 to my travel sinking fund that's in a high-yield savings account. And I'm paying an extra $50 towards my student loan debt. This leaves me with $1,210 until my next paycheck. Follow me for more average girly finances.
It's payday. Hi, I'm Viv, and I'm the first one in my family to overcome generational poverty and build generational wealth. And for transparency, I'm going to show you what I do every time I get paid. So this paycheck is a special one. I got my bonus, which came out to $11,500 in gross. Taxes, deductions, it came out to $5,142. This is also my first paycheck with my new salary of $109,675. After taxes and deductions, that paycheck came out to $2,696. So before I spend any of this money, I want to make sure I know where it's going to go. And I'm going to use my free budgeting template. Highly recommend. It's linked in my bio, and did I mention it's free? So I have two checking accounts, one with Chase and one with SoFi, so my two paychecks are split between those two banks. I had some money left over, so I added it here too. Now on to my fixed expenses. These are expenses that I know are coming, so I'm adding them in the amounts to my budgeted column, and once I pay them out, I'll add them to the actual column. I already moved $3,000 to savings because if I've learned anything at all, it's that you should be paying yourself first. Now on to my variable expenses. Okay, so if you watch my videos, you know that I love my parents so much. I send them money each paycheck, and I also help them with bills. My mom's turning 60 next week, and I'm going all out. I'm budgeting $1,000 to do something really nice for her because she deserves it. I'm the type of girl who believes in balance. As much as I do love saving and investing, I know life is short, and if I have the money to spend time and make beautiful memories with people I love, I'm gonna do it. My total left over after saving, investing, and expenses is $120.31. Follow me for my next payday routine, and let me know if you would budget this differently.
It's payday, butthole, so let's do some budgeting. So first, today was a pretty good payday. I'm just gonna put that out there. I rarely get this much money deposited at once. My paycheck was $21.82, and then my pay was increased retroactively to April 1st, so that back pay was $11.22. And then I also got paid $1,500 for a TikTok brand deal. I don't usually include social media money in these videos because I always send that straight to savings, and I don't count it as part of my budgeting routine, but I figured I'd include it today since it came in the same day that I got my paycheck. I also had about $500 in my checking already, so my total checking balance is at $53.50. So first, since taxes aren't taken out of that TikTok payment, the first thing I do is transfer 20% of that $1,500, which is $300, into my savings account for taxes. And then I transfer the remaining $1,200 to savings. Then I pay off my credit card. I put all expenses and bills on this card, so that total was $537. And then my car payment auto pay is tomorrow, so I'm mentally setting aside $480 for that and $625 for half of what I pay in rent, so I don't have to pay rent from one paycheck in 2 weeks. And that leaves me with $2207 in my checking, so I transferred $1,500 to savings and left the remaining $700 in the account in case of any So today was a very good payday, and obviously I wouldn't have that extra money if it wasn't for you guys watching my videos, so thank you so much, and also you better keep watching them or else.
Let's do my payday routine as a 30-year-old nurse living in San Francisco with a $211,000 yearly salary. I get paid bi-weekly, and this is my most recent paycheck. This paycheck is actually bigger than usual since they added my $1,400 tuition reimbursement on this one, but usually my bi-weekly paycheck is about $4,200. I love Notion, and I use it to organize my finances. For me personally, it's the best way to list out all of my expenses and savings every month. Another app I like to use is SoFi. Not only do I bank with them, but I use their app to track my expenses and net worth. I like to pay all of my bills on the first day of the month, so even though they're not due yet, I still automate them on the first. As you can see here, my total fixed expenses is about $4,125 every month, with my rent being the mostest because we live in the Bay Area where the cost of living is a bit higher. We can talk more about the cost of living later in a different video. My first paycheck of the month covers all of my bills, and then I use my second paycheck to save and invest money and to pay for all my other expenses every month. I didn't include any of the money that I make off of social media because I just save all of that money and don't look at it. But let me know if you want me to make a video about my social media income as well.
It's the first payday of 2024, so let's go through my payday routine as a 26-year-old with $31,000 of debt. My net paycheck from my full-time job was $2,223. I got paid $105 from my part-time job, and I had $1,244 in my checking account. This gave me a total of $3,572 to budget with. First things first, my credit card balance is $1,095, so we're going to pay that off. Then I'm setting aside $650 for half of my rent. I want a $20,000 emergency fund, so I'm going to save $400 from this paycheck. I have a trip to Punta Cana coming up, so I'm saving $185 for travel. I absolutely love renting, but in a few years I would like to buy a house, so I'm saving $200 towards a down payment. Most of my bills are during the first half of the month, but I will have bills for $175 coming through between now and my next paycheck. This leaves me with $867 left over for groceries, gas, miscellaneous expenses, and a buffer for my checking account. Follow me for more money talks.
I just got my first paycheck of 2024, so here's a budget breakdown of me trying to live my best life, but also somewhat being financially responsible. I got paid $2,600 from my salary this fortnight and an extra $150 from my Etsy store, which gives me a total of $2,750 to work with. First thing I do is always setting money aside for my needs just to make sure all my bills are paid for. So I'm going to set aside $580 for my rent, $40 for my phone bill, and $50 for utilities. I spend $120 on my gym membership every fortnight and $32 on various subscriptions, things like Netflix, Spotify, and Disney. I'm trying to cut back on my takeaway spending, so I'm setting aside $400 for groceries for the next 2 weeks, which is a little bit more than usual. And I'm going to try and save about $300 to put away for investments, as well as $500 just for general savings. This all leaves me with just over $700 in my spending account for the next 2 weeks.
Here is my payday routine as a 27-year-old recently laid off employee who still lives with her parents. I received my severance package, which was $2,550 for 3 weeks of work because I've only been with the company less than 2 years. Because I am a laid off girly, I decided to pay only $10 more than the minimum balance for my credit cards. Normally, I would exceed that number, but income is a little restricted. I am paying $10 to my Amex card and $50 to my Ulta card, totaling to $60 for my credit cards. Next, I'm going to pay my regular bills. In moments like this, I am so thankful that I still live at home with my parents and I do not have to pay rent. And I know that I am 27 and I'm older, in my late 20s, and I should be independent, but honestly, if I had moved out, I feel like I would be in a very bad financial position right now. But because I still live with my parents, I have the space and time to really job search and find a next role that works for me. So my renting is done. Let's talk talk about my regular bills. So next I paid $300 for my car note, $30 for my phone bill, $10 for my private loans, $221 for my public loans, and $41.03 for my subscription, totaling to $602.03 for regular bills. Lastly, we have savings. I allocated $1,600 to my fund money account, which is just a reserve account that allows me to take money out of it without being penalized. I allocated $100 to my federal credit union, totaling to $1,700 in savings. This leaves me with $187.97 for food, gas, and other personal care items. I also had some money left over from the previous time I got paid, but because I'm laid off, I definitely don't spend as much, so I don't need as much.
Hey friends, it's payday today, so come budget my paycheck with me as a 25-year-old living in Los Angeles. So this year I thought it'd be beneficial to go over my husband and I's income combined and not just mine, just to give any couples out there an idea of how we manage our finances together. So this year my husband and I are focusing on redirecting our money into sinking funds to support a pre-planned trip, emergency fund, and believe it or not, a semi-annual shopping spree for the both of us. We want to start focusing on getting quality clothing over fast fashion, so we set up to update our wardrobe every summer and fall for the changing season. We got paid $1,938 for the week and put aside $686 for rent, $887 to our bill account, and the remaining $365 went to our checking account to split into savings and groceries. We sent $150 to our high yield savings account. This is where we're saving our sinking fund, and the remaining got divvied up into a few different ways.
I got paid yesterday, so let's budget my $2,238 paycheck. Reminder that this is the amount that I'm left with after money gets taken out for my 401k, for taxes, and also for the company's stock program at work. You may have noticed that this paycheck is higher than usual, and that's because I reduced the amount of money that I'm putting into the company stock program, so it's about $700 more than it normally is. Last year, I was in a season of kind of stockpiling my money in that company stock program, so this season we're in now is prioritizing the sinking funds and retirement. That being said, let's review what is going on with my money. Now, starting with my anticipated cost, which is just my total monthly bills, my total has stayed the same at $413, and when we look at my breakdown, it still stands that toll roads and monthly facials are my biggest expenses. When it comes to rent, Wi-Fi, and utilities, those are listed at $0 because I did move back home with my mom in order to specifically save money on these things. Because I'll tell you what, the salaries in California are higher, but so are the rent costs. Moving on to the debt information, I currently have $18,900 left of my car loan, and I do not have any credit card debt to speak of right now. Which means we can now move on to the fun part, breaking up the actual paycheck. I've set aside $206 for my anticipated costs, again, just half of my overall monthly bills. And then I set aside $350 for my spending accounts, which is just the checking account that I use to spend my being alive money. Now, my weekly allowance that I give myself is $175. This is for food and transportation and nothing else. I get paid bi-weekly, which means I need to set aside 2 weeks worth of being alive money, which gives us that $350 number. Next, I'm going to put $300 into my retirement account, aka the Roth IRA that I have with Fidelity, and then I'm going to put $1,100 into my various savings sinking funds. Next, I'm going to set aside $202 for the car loan. I am a month ahead on this, so I don't need to have all of that money saved at once. When it comes to my car loan, I do want to aggressively pay that off, but that's not my priority right now. My priority is focusing on the retirement account and the sinking fund. So once those are totally fully funded, then I'm going to shift my attention to the car loan. But for now, we're just gonna let it be. And I know that we should pay that off as soon as possible because it prevents interest from accruing, but hey, let's just let it go. Okay, let that go. I'm going to go ahead and leave that $80 in the discretionary fund, which is basically just going to be funneled into my Disney savings checking account because I'm going to Disney at the end of this month and I would like to have money to spend. Finally, we're moving on to the bonus step of Payday, which is breaking up the money that I've set aside for savings and breaking them up into their actual savings accounts. So I set aside $1,100 to go into savings, but I have a lot of accounts. So we need to plan that out.
This payday, I'm going to put $400 towards new technology, $200 towards making moves, $300 towards travel, and $200 towards future pup. I have a bit of a ways to go with these sinking funds, but my goal is to have them fully funded by the end of July, so we'll see. The other savings accounts I have are Safety Net and Emergency Fund, which are both fully funded. I have $1,000 in Safety Net and $10,000 in Emergency Fund, and while I do like to have like a little bit of a cushion in my cushion accounts, we're gonna let those be for now. That's it for this payday. As always, I used my budget template, which is available for download.
It's payday, so let's budget my $80,000 a year salary as a 24-year-old data analyst living in Boston, Massachusetts, who gets paid weekly. Just to start out, yesterday I did get my federal and state tax return, but I'm not going to include that in my totals for today. I'm going to do a separate video on how I budget my tax return. I'm just going to budget my paycheck as normal, not including my tax return. As of last night, I had $614.18 in my checking account. This morning I got my weekly paycheck of $1,044.99, which means this morning I woke up with $1,659.17 in my checking account. As always, I started by paying my credit card in full, which this week was $211.74. That means after paying my credit card in full, I was left with $1,447.43 to budget. My rent is posted in my portal, so I started off by paying $750 towards rent, which is half my monthly rent, so I will need to pay another $750 next week, but happy to get some of it out of the way now. I then put $300 into my Roth IRA and $250 into my high yield savings account. I already hit my goal for my emergency fund a few months back, but my rent did increase a little bit for next year, so I'm trying to add just a little bit more into my emergency fund to cover that increase. After all of those payments and transfers, I was left with $147.43 in my checking account that I will carry over onto next week.
Thank you so much for staying until the end of this video, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. When you first started working, were you able to maintain and sustain a consistent payday routine? Have you ever heard of a payday routine? Are you kind of like my family members, and whenever you get paid, you just spend whatever you feel like and you've never really had a budget in your life? Or are you super type A and you love making budgets? Let me know down in the comments. But as always, thank you so much to all the new subscribers. Thank you for joining the family and being a part of the community where this is the community where the money resides, and we improve each area of our life in our health, wealth, and relationships. So tune back in every day for a new video, and bye!